So, we all engage in unemployed behavior from time to time, but for some of us, our unemployed behavior consists of spending hours upon hours resetting a level over and over again just so we can get a God Run seed, only to end up spending hours in a low poly cave, killing hundreds of thousands of little pixels on the screen for a sweet taste of leaderboard clout, only for it to get erased every 168 hours. And the truly deranged individuals will do this for 40 hours straight. I legit watched a world record run where the guy broke the game so hard he was able to hit the literal max kill count of the game, and 4 hours of his 40-hour run was him just trying to end it by killing himself over and over again in a pit of lava, because he was just that stupidly strong. If you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, I think you'll get a kick out of learning about the wonderful world of Megabonk and its completely unhinged player base. Megabonk is a pretty popular ADHD Gen Z meme-fueled K-hole masquerading as a video game. Released last year shortly after that small niche little indie game called Silksong, Megabonk feels like a game made by and for people who are chronically online. I don't know of many games where you can unironically play as the black and white GigaChad meme while doing damage from his massive aura while clapping Scorpion Ussie's cheeks so hard they generate a lightning strike.
Did you get that thing all down?
The goal of Megabonk is to get strong enough within a limited amount of time while fighting an infinite amount of enemies so you can kill the stage boss. Doing this opens a portal that takes you to progressively harder and harder stages, with the final portal resulting in a 1v1 with the final boss of whatever biome you're in. So this can be either Darth Vader, Huge Anubis, or Big Bob. Now, if you manage to beat them, you've pretty much won the game. But anyone that's played Megabonk knows that doing this is a lot harder than it sounds, and even more so if it's your first time playing. Because Megabonk is brutally unforgiving and complete bullshit at times by design. Dude, what is a spooky Steve, and why does it have 340 undecillion health?
Hell no, guys, hell no.
I mean, I've 100% this game and done almost every nonsensical challenge you can think of, including a sub 10 crypt speedrun and the fragile tier 3 forest run, and I can pretty much do this to the final boss consistently if I want to. And yet, I still get my ass beat in this game from time to time for the silliest of reasons. So I'm not surprised that when you do a quick Google search or look at the Megabonk subreddit, you can find plenty of people posting about how they're struggling to kill these final bosses. And if my friend's leaderboard is anything to go by, the majority of people that play this game haven't even got over 100,000 kills. They usually get stuck somewhere between 20,000 and 40,000 as their highest run, which is crazy when you remember there's people who are doing millions of kills a run and surviving for 10 hours plus with no issue. So, what's the difference between the average Megabonk player and these guys?
You'll have to get jobs. You know, employment.
But no, seriously, it really just comes down to just how dedicated and autistic are you willing to be about this game. Because getting good at Megabonk isn't so much about mechanical skill, but realizing that A, first and foremost, this game is a grind. B, you'll quickly learn that RNG will always be the deciding factor of your runs. And C, game knowledge and item management is pretty much what guarantees your win depending on what your goal is in Megabonk. But first, let's start with the grind. When I open Megabonk, I see dozens of characters to choose from, all with unique passives, tons of tomes that have the ability to amplify your abilities, and over 90 different items ranging from commons to legendaries with tons of game-breaking synergies. But when you start Megabonk, you're not gonna see that. You're gonna see this. Nothing but a bunch of black silhouettes banished to the Shadow Realm with very cryptic and vague descriptions on how to unlock them. And if you want all the items in this game, and that's me including all the various cosmetics and upgrades, it could easily take anywhere between 30 to 100 hours depending on how fast you learn and how lucky your RNG is. Like, take Roberto for example. He's a cool dude in this Teen West ghost costume that wields a comically large scythe, but his whole gimmick is that he can spawn these blue spooky chests every 60 seconds. That's already pretty good, but even more so when you synergize it with the credit card fraud build, where you run around the map looking for red and green credit cards so you can duplicate them in these little microwaves. Get enough of these and basically every time you open a chest, you not only get a huge spike in damage, but also luck. It's really good. He's a pretty decent character. But how do you unlock Roberto? Well, remember Spooky Steve with 36 zeros for health? Yeah, you have to kill him to get this character. I remember reading this when I started playing and feeling like this was impossible. The game looked me in the eyes and said, yeah, you have to kill God now. Bitch, I'm flinging bananas and bones. I am not Heather Mason. That shit ain't happening. But eventually, it did happen, like 50 hours later. You pretty much have to make a build that can not only do infinitely scaling damage, which only one weapon in the game can do consistently, but your build also has to be able to stun him long enough because Pookie Steve here will instantly kill you if he touches your health bar even once. It's only after 200 hours of playing that I can finally do this to Spooky Steve, but that's only because it took me 47 minutes of abusing a pretty weird exploit so I could get a 60,000x damage multiplier on Ogre. So again, I'm not surprised that when I look at my achievements, only 3% of players have done this. But wait, here's another one. Take the Chaos Tome. This is a book where every time you level it up, you pretty much get to go gambling with your stats, basically increasing anything you can see on the screen by a lot. This could mean just randomly getting 4 extra jumps or just flat out increasing your damage by 50%. It's pretty much the equivalent of adding like 99 plus charge shrines to your run. If fortune favors you, it can legit be one of the strongest items in the game. But getting this requires you to activate 45 different charge shrines in one run without ever leaving them once you step inside. That doesn't sound bad at first, but in Megabonk, you can easily get knocked around, blown up, or just swarmed at any given moment. Or you can just get launched across the map, accidentally stepping into one for like a millisecond and fail the challenge. And if you were like 40 shrines deep on the last stage before the final boss, you now have to restart your 30-minute run all over again and hope that surely this time, everything goes your way. And mind you, these two examples are for just one character and one item out of hundreds of unlockables in this game. A large majority of the weapons, characters, and items require you to do a bunch of grinding or deal with lots of ridiculous RNG. Like, one of my favorite weapons used in this game is the shotgun. And despite me actively trying to farm it, I think it took me like 3 hours before a random tumbleweed on tier 2 desert finally dropped it. Or like, what do you mean I have to hit every pot and chest in this entire crypt before Spooky Steve diddles me to unlock a stainless steel pot legendary? Then I have to use said legendary to level up a weapon past its max level as Vlad of all people, just to get the legendary wizard hat. Or I have to kill 100 of these specific cactus enemies that only spawn at random on a specific map with damage that requires you to run into them without dying, in a game where thousands of enemies can swarm you and kill you instantly if you stop moving? Bruh, I swear they just be making you do the most random shit in Megabonk for just a drip of power. Now, these days, after 200 plus hours, I know how to complete most of these challenges pretty easily. And in hindsight, some of these challenges aren't that bad when you understand how the game works. But that's also part of the grind, because Megabonk is notorious for not explaining a single fucking thing.
Lord help us. Lord have mercy.
Here's a good example. Remember how I said you can clap at enemies' cheeks so hard it generates a lightning strike? That's from a rare item called the Thunder Meds. But what does that actually mean in game? Well, if you grab a pair and attack an enemy, I can hear a special sound go off. I can see some of the tougher enemies are stunned. The item description said nothing about that. But how much damage is it doing? What does multiple copies of this even do? Can I clap more cheeks with more mitts? Well, you'd think so, but it's only after digging into the game's code you realize that that's not how any of this works. Having more than one Thunder Mitt doesn't increase the radius, it doesn't increase stun duration, and it doesn't reduce the cooldown or the amount of times it procs. Multiple copies only increase the damage it does, and the only way to know how much damage it's doing is this beautiful little formula. You know, life would be easier if they just showed you how much damage it's doing when you hover over the item. That's infinitely more helpful than seeing a stat after I died and not even knowing why this number is what it is. And I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking, but I bring this up because it's not just the Thunder Mitts that's misleading. A lot of the items in this game are either not self-explanatory, or the game just refuses to tell you what they do. Like, the epic item known as the Slurp Gloves says it applies blood magic. But nowhere in the game does it tell you what blood magic is. Eventually, you'll figure out that blood magic is just another word for blood mark, but again, blood marks are not explained anywhere in this game. So you can imagine my confusion when I unlock the Bloody Cleaver legendary, and it tells you that lifesteal applies blood marks, but it refuses to say what blood marks are. That's 3 times now the game has edged me with knowledge, but refuses to insert it into my brain. And I'm not the only one that found this to be annoying. This was a big enough issue that another YouTuber named Indie Snack actually made an entire website called Megabonk Info that tells you exactly what each item does and the math behind it, because the game just refuses to do it. I mean, this guy had to actually decompile the code of the game and reconstruct it via mods just to figure out what the hell is going on. because the developer didn't bother to tell players what core mechanics actually do. Now, I know in the latest update, he's trying, I guess. There's like little info things next to characters, and weapons now say like what would be the best thing to upgrade on it, but no, come on, there needs to be more. Seriously, it's only because of this website that I know that half the legendaries in this game are pretty much bait, and a lot of the items actually do nothing past a couple stacks. The biggest offenders of this being Grandma's Secret Tonic and the Spicy Meatball, as they are size cap. I'm not going to explain that, but if you ever gotten more than 5 of these items in a run, congratulations, those additional items did nothing for you. Now, trust me, I understand the allure of having a bit of mystery to your game and letting players figure things out, but this just feels unnecessarily punishing. Just tell people in-game what debuffs do and what happens with multiple stacks of an item. Because for the longest time, I thought that having 10 keys, this little green item that has a chance to make chests free, would make it to where all chests are pretty much free. Because I mean, that's what the game says. But the game neglects to tell you that keys, and really most items in this game, use hyperbolic scaling, meaning that it's pretty much impossible for you to reach 100% proc rate, and you actually get diminishing returns after so many stacks. It's the reason why if you've ever had like 15 keys in a run, and you're wondering why most of the chests you're opening aren't free, it's because you're actually taking a 60% chance of it being free or not each time you open a chest, and that 40% where it doesn't is kicking your ass. Are you starting to see why this game can be such a grind to learn? Not only are you busting your ass to unlock everything, but you also got to do homework outside the game just to know what's actually happening. I think I'm starting to see why most of my friends are so low on the leaderboards. But thankfully, I wouldn't be making this video if the torture wasn't worth the squeeze. Because while some of these challenges are infuriating at times, the rewards are ultimately worth it. Because once you have most things unlocked and you understand the nuances of how they work, you'll be able to experience the raw dopamine hit of being able to cleave through thousands of enemies per second and ultimately become God.
I'll take on all of you. Here's the grand finale.
All down.
Too late.
Let's see who's still standing.
But how? How do you go from the start of the run, where you can barely kill a single enemy in front of you, to liquefying their organs at the mere sight of you? Well, this brings us to our second hurdle of getting good at Megabonk, and that's that there's a ton of synergies and macro game knowledge to learn.
They turned the friggin' frogs gay.
Now, how high your run is going to scale is already predetermined by what toggles you have on before your run starts, and everything that happens in specifically Tier 1 and Tier 2 of the level. Because, spoiler alert, if you leave the Tier 2 portal and you don't already have 100,000 plus kills, it is highly unlikely you're going to get a score higher than like 350k. Which you might be thinking, damn son, that's already impressive, but we're not here to be impressive, we're here to be unemployed. Let me explain. I know I just gushed about how there's 90 different items in this game, but you'll come to realize that for the majority of runs that will actually scale well, you'll only end up using a handful of items, and only a dozen or so provide significant power spikes. Like, don't get me wrong, you could stack 12 batteries so you have plus 220% attack speed, which is very fun, but that's not going to be the reason you're able to get 100,000 plus kills consistently. I hate to say it, but it basically comes down to using these 6 weapons, potentially a mix of these 8 tomes depending on the strat you use, and a mix of these 30 or so items, with the majority of your damage coming from legendaries and epics. All of these items and different combinations is pretty much what makes the top 3 meta builds in Megabonk, those being the speedrun build made for clearing stages as fast as possible, the beefy build, a more consistent way to scale high kill runs by collecting as many beefy rings, idol juices, chonk plates, and holy books as you can, so you have these absurdly high damage multipliers, and if you're really wanting to push this game to its limit, you know, surviving all the way to 50 minutes overtime or getting a run that will get you to scores as high as 900k if not a million, then the duration build will be your friend. A really weird build all about abusing Ice Cube, Lightning Orb, Joe's Dagger, and Bob's Light to permanently stun overtime ghosts and instantly kill them with Bob's Light. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, only 900k to a million? Didn't you start this video talking about hitting the 16 million enemy kill cap? Well, this video took me so long to make that as of the 25th of January 2026, the hats update pretty much killed the way people were surviving for that long. Now, a big disclaimer. I wish I could say that just because you know what items to use and what build to focus on, you're now magically guaranteed to dominate the Megabonk leaderboard. But you see, there's a reason why I call this a game for the unemployed. Because the final hurdle of getting good at Megabonk is completely out of your control. And that's that RNG will always be the deciding factor of your runs. I feel like I haven't done a good job at conveying this, but almost everything that happens in Megabonk is purely decided at random. The weapons and tomes you get every level up are random. When you pick up a chest, its item is random. When you hit a charge shrine, the upgrades are random. Even when you visit a shady guy, these little bowler hat dudes that sell you stuff, you can tell the rarity of them by the color of their hats, but the items they have are still random. And there's even more randomness on top of the already random upgrades because there's still common to legendary upgrades for each level up or shrine you get. Like, the difference between a common weapon upgrade and a legendary could be the difference between it shooting like 2 extra projectiles or 6/7 of them. Now, there are ways to force better outcomes like toggling which weapons and items may or may not appear in the run, using your refresh skips and banishes to try and find exactly what you're looking for, but there's only so many items you can disable, and there's only so many times you can banish or refresh an item per run. I've had runs where I didn't even get the weapons or tomes I wanted until like level 50 because RNG can just screw you over that bad. And even the runs where you did get everything you need within the first 10 to 20 levels, you're still not guaranteed to scale well because, again, the game can just not give you the upgrades you need, which is crucial in the early game. Like, one of the tomes that's required in every high kill build is the XP tome, because without XP, you can't level up. And if you can't level up, your run is pretty much dead. But here's the thing, despite having the book, it's actually very possible that it just doesn't show up because level ups only show 3 random items you can upgrade at a time. So there's plenty of times where you need the specific upgrade to scale and the game just won't give it to you. I've had god tier runs with multiple legendaries in tier 1 with all the items I need for a great start, and boom, my XP tome is off to get milk and cigarettes for some reason. See you in 30 levels when it's too late and I'm already getting my back blown out by the tier 2 swarm. I can't stress enough how bad this is, because remember, the biggest thing that decides what your final score will be in Megabonk isn't tier 3 or tier 4 of the run, it's actually how well you scaled in tier 1 and tier 2. If you don't get the XP tome often, you can't get strong, and if you can't get strong, you can't level up. And that's just the RNG of weapons and tomes. Don't even get me started on the RNG of actually getting the items required for your build. It's a pretty big meme that most Megabonk players spend like 90% of their time resetting the game instead of actually playing it. Because if you're going for a high kill run, so many things outside of your control have to go right. And you basically have to follow a perfect flowchart before you even have a potentially viable run. Now, I'm not gonna bore you with every nuanced thing you have to do in tier 1 and tier 2, but let me give you the basic gist of what people are doing and why you see them resetting so much. So let's say you want to score really well. You know that you want to use the beefy build to do it, and you have all the meta weapons, tomes, and items toggled so the beefy build scales as easy as possible. Well, as soon as you start your run, you'll need to go into the settings, turn on shrine counters, turn on fast resets, and turn on skip portal animations. Because the first thing you're looking for when you start a run is how many microwaves are there, how many magnet shrines are there, and how many shady/Maui guys are on the map. If there isn't at least 2 microwaves, you need to... If there isn't at least 1 magnet shrine, guess what? You need to... If you count the amount of shady guys and Mauis and it's not at least a minimum of 7 or more combined, guess what? You need to... And here's the big kicker. Let's say you get at least 2 microwaves, 1 magnet shrine, and tons of shady guys and Mauis. If one of those microwaves are legendary, that's absolutely useless and you need to... If they are both blue, that's garbage and you need to... If they are both white or white and purple, you need to... I bet you thought I was gonna say it. That's actually good, you can work with that. But if none of your shady guys or Mauis give you at least 2 or 3 good legendaries, I'm sorry, but you need to... Now, even if you get good microwaves, good legendaries and everything seems to be going your way, you're still not in the clear, because if you're playing any character that isn't Fox while trying to get a high kill run, you also have to worry about luck, because luck is the single most broken and stupidly overpowered stat in this game. It's so bad where if you don't have it, your run is pretty much dead on arrival. Without a way to increase your luck, it's almost guaranteed that you'll never pull anything higher than like a rare for most things, and your level ups are going to suck ass. But if you do have it and you're able to get your luck above like 1000%, the game is going to give you a golden shower of every epic or legendary item and upgrade you could ever need. And you'll need a lot if you want these runs to scale well. It is not surprising to see someone have 30 to 40 beefy rings in tier 2. This means that every character that isn't Fox is pretty much forced to use the luck tome. Every time Fox levels up, his luck gets leveled up. It's kind of broken. But if that's the case, why is it that when you look at the top Megabonk runs, almost none of these guys are using the luck tome? Well, that's because instead of using the luck tome, these guys are using those green credit cards I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Roberto. The green credit card increases your luck by 2% every time you open a chest. If you manage to get 3 or more of them in stage 1 and combine that with the key item we talked about earlier that allows you to potentially open chests for free, you now have a way to consistently increase your luck with every chest you open without relying on the luck tome. But again, you have to get at least 3 of those green credit cards in stage 1. Meaning not only do you need to find a perfect seed with good microwaves, good legendaries, and good magnets, but you also need to get green credit cards too? Bro, do you see how many things that are completely out of your control have to line up just so you can get a good start? This is why people will sometimes spend 11 hours just resetting over and over again until the stars align. And even if the stars do align, that doesn't mean the run is magically guaranteed to scale well. You still need the right legendaries and epics to show up at the right time. You still need to scale your XP, difficulty, and weapons fast enough before the tier 2 overtime so you don't just die in the swarm. And most importantly, you need to not just randomly die to the swarm. I genuinely don't know how people do this week after week. This is a level of unemployed behavior that I just can't comprehend. I mean, I tried. I was briefly the number 5 Megabonker in the world for like 2 hours, only because my run happened to end at the start of the weekly reset. But man, as much as I love and hate this game, I wish it wasn't like this. Now, you definitely don't have to play the game like this, but it does feel kind of shitty when you look at the global leaderboard and you see all these guys doing 700k plus runs and wondering, why do I suck so much at this game and these guys don't? Now, I kind of made this video because I wish there was more viable ways to get a high kill run than just using the beefy or duration builds. I wish that Fox and Dicehead weren't the only characters you ever see in high kill runs because luck is such a broken stat. I mean, we have all these characters and most of them are just not that viable unless you're using some super crazy niche strat. And getting 3 purple credit cards in tier 1 just so you can compete with the luck tome is actually a secret CIA torture method. That shit is ass. Alright, I'm starting to sound like a little whiny baby, but what do I know? I'm not a game developer, and I don't have solutions to these frustrations I and many other players have been feeling with Megabonk. But what I do know is that this game is something special. Despite all of its flaws, there's a certain kind of power fantasy you get from Megabonk that not a lot of games can pull off. And it has such a crunchy aesthetic that oozes with so much personality that despite it being a survivor's like, it does feel like its own thing, even when it's emulating some things one-to-one. And I think that says a lot about Vetinad and what they've built here. Because people don't make entire websites decompiling your code just to figure out what items actually do if they don't genuinely love the thing that you made. There wouldn't be diehard fans consistently climbing the leaderboard every week if there wasn't a charm to it. And they definitely wouldn't be teaching new players how to get good at this game if they didn't love the community. And honestly, I love the small but mighty Megabonk community. Genuinely some of the chillest and coolest people who are always willing to help you if you're willing to ask. I mean, I don't think this video would even been possible for me to make if it wasn't for talented players like Honora, Rock, Steelio, Kooky Cracks, TG, ND Snack, and I'm sure there's so many others that I can't even remember and I'm probably forgetting and I apologize, that have helped me craft builds, explain strats, and teach me why things work the way they do in Megabonk. So, I say that to say, despite how unemployed this game is, I want to say thank you. Thank you to Vetinad for making it. Thank you to the Megabonk community for teaching me how to be professionally unemployed. And after 260 plus hours of playing this game, I can actually say I love and I loathe Megabonk. I look forward to whatever crazy update this game eventually gets next. Anyways, subscribe.